Yep, it hasn't moved. It hasn't moved a bit. I'll come out here a little later once it warms up and try to bang those off. I'll get my bolt and my blowtorch and everything. I'll have to move the truck to the shed. You see, I'm moving this trailer and everything back and forth. I live about 3/4 of a mile away from where the shed is. And it's starting to get cold. I might end up having to buy a salamander for this project, just so I don't freeze. I still haven't taken that bus cut off drive shaft piece off. I'll get that today. I do a lot of sniffling and nose wiping in these videos. I kind of watch myself and notice. Pardon me for that. I'm definitely not a actor. This is all pretty real. They tried to get me to act at the Duck Club once. Act like this or act like that, they were saying, and it don't work. Not for me. Let's just roll this over. I've been putting the PP blaster on it. I kind of like this new can lid. You can turn it down to where you don't spray it heavily, and you can just put a little on. You can actually see this stuff eating the rust if you say, like, if you got a bolt that's stuck where you can get it moving a little back and forth. If you spray it on then, well, while it's still hot from doing the work on it, you literally see the rust come off. This PP blaster eats rust, that's for sure. Hey, if I got it like this, I could straighten this pretty easily. And it's bent over here as well. I'll try to straighten those today. Heck, there's a rock in here. Well, it was kind of mashed down in the mud over at the junkyard. It's to be expected. It'll make it easy to pound them off, maybe. It's always a bright side. But I'll be buying rotors and pads at least. I threw all the brake parts in here from yesterday. This is the pads that came off there. There's not a lot of wear on those. I think I could clean these up and use them, but I don't think I want to. It's only like $40 for new pads or something like that. I had planned on putting all new everything on, but then once I found that those calipers are like new, sure they're rusty, but if you examine them closely, the bushings and everything is like new on them. And the bolts that came off were like, I mean, brand new, pretty much. So even if this isn't the right rear end, I'm coming out ahead a little bit on knowledge and stuff. Let's take a look at these. Maybe I can give somebody a tip on how to pull these. have to roll it over. I've been learning as I go on this. I'm going to share the stuff that I learned. Okay, if you look closely at these, there's a little tab right there. And if you feel around, I think there's another one on the other side. And how you get this off is you got to depress them little tabs, and then it'll pull through. If you just take a hammer and a screwdriver and tap it, you can knock it in. And if you wiggle this, have channel locks on it, you can kind of wiggle it and then get this started. And then you take and turn it, and then do the other tab that I think it's on the other side. If you start turning and wiggling and push them tabs in with the screwdriver, you could get it out. There's a special tool that you use to slide over it that's just the right size that will depress them tabs. Or there's a hack where you put a small hose clamp on it, tighten the hose clamp, and the hose clamp squeezes in the little tab things, and then you can pull it through. But either way, I got to do that twice again on this to get these loose. I could just cut it with my torch. I haven't done any actual cutting with my cutting torch yet. I had planned on maybe cutting the bolts off like these, but it turned out I got them off. That's why I ended up with these, because I was not too sure that I was going to be able to get mine off without destroying them. So I asked them to try and save these, and praise God they did. So I've got an extra set of U-bolts, and these are in like really good shape. They were like, they couldn't believe how good a shape they are. That's what they told me. This is all gonna bolt right back up pretty well. I'm nervous as a cat about getting the gear ratio right. And I can't tell until I get the rotors off and can turn some things, and then, count how many turns it takes. If we turn the pinion 3.5 times, and then the wheel goes around once, that's a 3.55 to 1 gear ratio. If you have to turn it almost 4 times to get the wheel go around once, that'd be a 3.9. There's 2 choices, and I think I either got the right one or the wrong one. It's 50-50. If I got the wrong one, it just means the chuck won't get on it as well, let's say. The lower the number, you figure it out. It used to be you wanted 411 Positrack rear end back in the old days. That was the thing. Now this is, they say it's a 355 to 1 rear end. And if it is, then I probably got the wrong one. I did some checking on my other rear end once I could see the gears and turn it and everything, and did some checking, and I think I actually have the 3.92 to 1. This is kind of embarrassing to admit that you might have got it wrong. Well, they just looked this stuff up in books, And we're trying to figure out, well, how the hell did my truck that says in the book has a 355 rear end, well, how did it end up with a 392? Well, in 2010, the truck was wrecked. I had a wreck, and I wrecked into a bridge. Kind of the wind blew me. I lost control and then nerfed the bridge, so to speak. And my rear axle on this side broke. Well, the shop gave us a bunch of shit. You couldn't even look, They said the axle was broke and they were having trouble replacing the rear axle and blah, blah, blah. Long story. And we never did figure out what exactly they had to do. They just said they was having trouble. And it took a long time. Well, now, and looking back at how the differential had like numbers written on it sideways in a wax crayon or whatever, stuff like you mark metal with, paint pen maybe, kind of like that. So I'm thinking they got a rear end from a junkyard and put it on my truck. They didn't care which one they got. I don't know, but you got to make up something to make the story make sense, to fill in the gaps. That's how your mind works. And the way I fill in the gaps is, well, they must have put a 392 rear end in that truck. Either that or maybe it had a 392 the whole time and the axle got broke and it broke the shims. They never caught the shims. They put it all together, made it work. They said they were having all kinds of trouble. Maybe they were because of them broken shims. Well, the truck continued to roll for 13 years down the road and then started going thunk, thunk, thunk on the left side. I diagnosed, I figured, well, it needs a new axle because it was only making noise on one side. Well, it turns out it needs a whole new everything because I couldn't get the axle off because of the broken shims. The shims are like right about here inside there, and you can't really get to them. You can see and you can pick at them with a screwdriver, but you're not going to get anything to come out. And I determined that them shims had been broken and then one or more had rotated and stacked and then made it to where, things weren't fitting together right. I took this off. We started trying to take the axle off. The spider gears fell out. At that point, I'm going, oh shit. So we just tried putting them back in, and you can't get them to go back in. They just won't fit because everything's too tight. No wonder they were having trouble getting it together. And you gotta wonder, what did they do? I don't know, but it's a mystery. And I gotta try to match up to what I got. And I'm hoping and praying that this is the right rear end, but I got a real bad feeling that it's not. That I'm going to have to go back to the junkyard and tell them to pull a different one. Which isn't so bad, see. When we looked this up, the guy kept finding 392s. That junkyard is full of 392 rear ends. So, all I got to do is just get the right one. And if I knew what I was doing, I'd say fuck it right now and then not even mess with this and get the right piece. But hey, maybe this is right and nobody knows any better. I'm going to continue, take the rotors off and, like I said, get it to where I can check a few things. I could pull this off and then look inside and then turn the gears and see how many turns it takes to get that big gear to turn around, and kind of like what I did on my other one, do the same process, and if they match, they match. If they don't, they don't. I'll be able to tell here shortly, maybe by Monday. I'm not going to get it in a big hurry. I kind of wish I had a pallet jack. I could pick this thing up and move it around if I had a pallet jack. It weighs too damn much. I can't even pick up one side. It's heavy. A lot heavier than I thought. I figured maybe two people would be able to move this around pretty easily. Pick up an end and move it, pick up another end. I think we can. But a pallet jack, you could just pick it up and roll it around. It'd be great. But that's another $400 or $500 thing. and borrow one from a factory. Yeah, right. It's like that's one of them things they can't go without even a day. I wish I had a pallet jack. It would make picking this thing up and moving it around very easy. It would probably just lift it just enough. And if it didn't, I'd just stick a couple 2x4s on the forks or something, whatever, and make it work. Tell you what, you get where you're working on your cars and stuff, you get a master, you get real good at rigging things and making it work. You try to avoid that sort of thing, but every once in a while you run into a situation where you got to make a tool work. A pallet jack, I wish I had one, boy. I could just put that down and then roll it out. This is kind of exciting. I wish it would go a little faster, but I don't want to push it. I think the goal for today should be to get this thing off. I might leave it on. It makes kind of a nice handle for moving it around. Get these rotors off. And maybe straighten the dust shields. Call it a day. Really, I don't need to get in a hurry. This could take till next year for all I care. Why? Because I bought another truck so I could fix my truck. It's not a crisis once you've got another truck. It's a wish now. I wish I could fix my other truck. You know, I guess if I was smart, I'd take that off and stick my finger in there and see if it has any oil in it. Yeah, I bet it does. It looks like it hasn't leaked. Regardless of this, if this is the right rear end, it's at least a good one, I think. I don't know, it's hard to tell until you got it on the truck. This has gotten to be an awful long video. It's going to be a long series. I hope y'all are enjoying it and listen to me ramble and babble about this dumb old truck. Have a great day, everybody. God bless you, and thanks for watching, and I hope you learned something.